There's no country in the world that can tolerate or permit or afford 5,000 people a day arriving at your border, saying the magic words, and getting asylum. And she says it's not a problem.
How long will you watch people being gunned down in first grade, fourth grade, high school, college, church, synagogue, a grocery store, a movie theater, a mall, and a nightclub,
Congresswoman,
and do nothing?
Truth gives you chills. 3 weeks from right now, the vote numbers will be rolling in. And Florida is one of the key battleground states that will determine control of the Senate. With so much at stake, let's bring in two experts. Robert Gibbs, former Obama campaign senior advisor and White House press secretary under President Obama, and my old friend Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Committee and former lieutenant governor of Maryland. Mr. Gibbs, Republicans keep hammering opponents on three things: crime, inflation, and immigration. But they do not offer any policy solutions on the other side. Why are the races so close?
Well, I think it's an atmospheric thing largely that these races are so close. You've seen them sort of hit these magic three for a long time. And remember, Seth, they had an argument within the Republican Senate campaign committee about whether they would propose any solutions. Mitch McConnell didn't want to go anywhere near solutions, understanding once you start trying to solve some of these problems, they get a lot more complicated. But I would believe that Republicans will continue to hammer inflation, and I think Democrats will continue to hammer abortion and other aspects of things they want to run on. And I think we're headed towards 3 weeks from this very moment, a remarkably close election.
But why do Democrats have to not talk about the economy, Robert? The economy isn't all good or all bad. It's complicated. And Democrats can hang their hat on action they've taken that Republicans haven't. Look at the Inflation Reduction Act. No Republicans voted for it. It's going to lower health care costs. It's going to lower energy costs. It's going to create jobs. And it's going to create a more fair tax system. Now, that's going to take time, but that's actual progress. They don't need to avoid talking about the economy. Can't they lean into this?
Absolutely. And I think they should. And I think to some degree they have to. I mean, you can't simply leave the playing field on the most important issue. And to your point, if steps they've taken are now law that will help seniors afford prescription drugs, patients better afford insulin, if things like that are helpful, they should be talking about them. You can't leave the playing field on the number one issue. That's true regardless of the other issues that you want to talk about. You've got to have something to say in that town hall meeting, out on the stump, as you meet voters on the issue that's most on their minds.
Michael, the majority of voters do believe that democracy is at risk. But as Robert just said, recent polling shows the economy is their number one issue. How do Democrats get the American people to understand if we do not have a functioning democracy, we cannot have a successful economy? If you're wondering if that's true, go look at China and Russia and ask those people how they're feeling.
Well, you just did it, Stephanie. I don't have to say it. You just did. It is the most common sense thing in the world. Let's just go back to January when the president gave the first State of the Union. He should have linked the economy and destiny, democracy, together. You're talking about what's going on overseas in Ukraine with Russia. Tie that into the economy. Help people understand what that economically means for us, as well as what it means to us to be in that fight to preserve democracy. Doing it there, doing it here at home against an anti-democratic insurrectionist Republican Party. So for me, it's not a complicated discussion. Trust me, if I was still chairman, we'd had a whole nother narrative going on right now. Trust me, because it's there. It writes itself. It is befuddling to me that Democrats have not known how to do the politics of this. In other words, take those two things that are so inextricably linked to together and help America understand how they're part of that and why it matters how their vote is cast, why it matters what this administration has done. And so I think, a lot of candidates have kind of had to find their own way. They don't have the good counsel of Robert Gibbs in the White House to sort of help reset narratives. So you have a lot of folks out there trying to figure out exactly how to make the case you just did. So what I would say is put what you just said on a loop, and Democrats push that ish out on the street and help people understand that without an underlying functioning democracy, it doesn't matter what your gas prices are, baby. It won't matter whether or not you're paying $5 for a gallon of gas or $2 for a loaf of bread. What will matter is you won't be able to afford anything because you can't vote, you can't freely assemble, you're on hit lists, our Congress is dysfunctional. All these things are linked together.
What will matter is when your autocratic government takes over the banking system and your accounts get locked. Robert?
Yeah, I do think, though, in fairness, I think that you have candidates out there making the case for democracy and making the case for protecting voting and making the case against the big lie and against Donald Trump. I think the challenge that we have is we think this election is about inflation versus abortion. I think those are obviously big, important issues, but I don't think they're the only issues that people are talking about. I think you have Democrats out there framing the extremist beliefs that Republicans have, whether it's about democracy, whether it's about January 6th, whether it's about the future of our country, as well as things like abortion. So I do think you're going to have a lot of people talking about a lot of these issues. It's why, quite frankly, this is an issue that was probably at half where it is now just a few months ago.
Michael, one of the things the majority of Americans do feel good about has been our response to Ukraine, working with our NATO allies. And today, Kevin McCarthy suggested that a Republican-controlled House could oppose aid to Ukraine. Is that the new GOP position, and people are down with that?
It's just so ridiculous. I mean, it's just, here we go again. It is true. It is true. We're not supporting Ukraine. Republicans don't want to support democracy and freedom. They like the authoritarian bootstrapping by Putin, because that's what Trump wants. That's what Trump wants. So we're all down. That's what Orban wants. We're down with that. The hell with Ukraine. All right. So you put us in power. We may not support them because, they're just way too much into this democracy thing. Folks, they're telling you. I mean, you opened this segment about, Republicans not telling you, what they're going to do. Yeah, they are. They've been telling us for months what they're going to do. They're going to do exactly what Kevin just said. We're likely to oppose more aid to Ukraine. Oh, guess what? We're likely to, have hearings on Hunter Biden. We're going to impeach Joe Biden. We're going to go through the list. They've been telling us. I don't know what more you want. So y'all sit back and worry about the economy all day long. Meanwhile, the party you put in power is going to be putting its money, your money, into investigating the son of the president, trying to impeach the president, trying to relitigate the past wrongs to Donald Trump, and going after the January 6th committee. So just, folks, this is not rocket science. I mean, I get the bottom line in how people are coming out of COVID and trying to recover, but look at what has happened to us. That you have one party saying, you know what, with these freedom fighters, what are you going to do about the women, the young women in Iran? I guess we don't care about what's happening to them either. People who are standing up for democracy around the globe while the United States recesses, retreats. Y'all need to get it together, because y'all about to mess this thing up 3 weeks from tonight.
All right, then. We'll be watching. We'll be voting. Robert Gibbs, Michael Steele, I'm sure we will see you again between now and election nights. Coming up.